5:47 in the morning. The alarm hasn't gone off yet. It never gets the chance anymore. Your body just knows now. 10 years of the same bedtime does that to a person. 9:30, lights out, no scrolling, boring, reliable. Yours. You lie there for a second before you move, just breathing. The ceiling fan turning slowly above you. Somewhere outside, a garbage truck groans down the block. You get up. The house creaks in the same 3 spots it always does. Second stair, kitchen doorway. The floorboard by the fridge your husband still forgets about, 22 years in. It's a bungalow, 1931. Your great-aunt's house before it was yours. You bought it off her for $131,000, back when the neighborhood hadn't decided what it wanted to be yet. It's worth around $340,000 now. Paid off. 4 years ago. You remember the exact afternoon you made the last payment. You didn't tell anyone. You just sat at the kitchen table for a while looking at a number that said 0. Nobody throws you a party for that. Nobody throws parties for 0. You make coffee. Same beans, same amount, same 14 ounces of water. The machine is 9 years old. It still works, so it still stays. While it brews, you check one thing. Just one. The account. $2,180,000. Give or take whatever the market decided to do overnight, while you were asleep and not caring. 90 seconds. That's the whole ritual. You look, close the app, and don't open it again until tomorrow. Your wrist still has the same watch it's had since you were 22 years old. A Casio. $19 new, back when $19 actually meant something to you. It doesn't tell you anything fancy. It tells you the time. That's all a watch needs to do. You've had 3 different phones since you bought that watch. 2 different cars. 1 entirely different career. The watch just kept ticking through all of it, and somewhere along the way, you stopped thinking of it as cheap. You started thinking of it as proof. You remember the day you bought it. Not the watch, the habit. You were 22. First real paycheck out of community college, an associate's degree in network administration, a job answering phones at a computer repair shop for $11 an hour. $11 an hour didn't leave much room for anything. Rent took most of it. But your uncle sat you down one night at his kitchen table and told you one thing. Pay yourself first, he said. Before the rent, before you even see the number. $25 a week. You won't miss it if you never let yourself see it. You set it up anyway. Automatic transfer, every Friday, before your account could even process what had landed in it. The first year you barely felt it work. Some weeks you almost turned it off. But the $25 kept leaving, rain or shine. It didn't ask permission. That's the part you understand now that you didn't understand at 22. It was never about the $25. It was about becoming the kind of person a system like that could be built on top of. There was one other thing, years later, that helped. Your grandfather left behind a half-acre lot outside town. Useless scrubland nobody in the family wanted to deal with. You were the one who filed the paperwork, split 3 ways with your siblings. Your share came to about $94,000 the year you turned 36. You didn't take a trip with it. You didn't touch it at all. You dropped it straight into the same index fund the $25 had been feeding for 14 years already. And then you left it alone the way you'd left everything else alone. That single deposit is a good chunk of why the number this morning has 7 figures in front of it instead of 6. Not luck exactly. More like the $25 habit finally getting handed something worth compounding. You leave the house at 7:15. 2 doors down, Brandon is out on his driveway, hosing off a truck that still has the paper plates in the back window. Brand new, electric, the kind that lights up like a spaceship when you unlock it. He waves. You wave back. He tells you the payment. $1,100 a month, 60 months. And he says it the way people say things they've already decided not to think about too hard. You never do the math out loud, but you know it anyway. $1,100 a month, invested instead, at historical stock market averages, becomes somewhere around $800,000 over 20 years. That truck isn't a truck. It's a house Brandon's kids will never grow up in. You're not thinking that to feel superior. You're thinking it because once you see the math, you can't stop seeing it. That's the part nobody warns you about. The numbers don't turn off just because you drove past them. You pull out of the driveway in a Honda CR-V. 2016. 61,000 miles. You bought it 3 years ago from a retired teacher named Diane, and there's still a faded sticker on the back window that says "My kid made honor roll," half peeled, and you've never bothered to take it off. Somebody else's pride, still riding around on your bumper. You kinda like that. At the light on Fuller Street, Brandon's truck rolls up next to you again, radio thumping through the glass. You're both headed the same direction for 2 more blocks. He doesn't know what you're worth. Nobody does. Not your coworkers, not your neighbors, not even your sister. The light turns green. He pulls ahead fast, like he's got somewhere urgent to be. You keep your own pace, coffee in the cup holder. Somewhere later today, your phone is going to ring. Somebody in your family is going to need $900 by Friday. But that's later. Right now it's just Tuesday morning, and the radio's off, and the only sound in the car is the heater ticking as it warms up. You work for the school district. IT administrator. 14 years now, not glamorous. Nobody grows up dreaming about network switches and Chromebook carts, but it's steady, and steady turned out to matter more than you expected it to. $78,000 a year. Real money. Just a paycheck, same as everyone else's, landing on the 15th and the 30th. You've got a pension coming, small one, and a 403b you've maxed every year since you turned 31. Back when maxing it felt like giving up a vacation you never took anyway. You took the match instead. Your office is a converted supply closet with a window that doesn't open. You've been offered the director title twice. Twice you said no. More money, more meetings, more of the Tuesdays that wouldn't be yours anymore. You like your Tuesdays. At 10 in the morning, Tyler knocks on the doorframe. 24. New hire, help desk, sharp kid, the kind who fixes things before anyone else notices they're broken. He's got a face on today. The kind you recognize. Can I ask you something weird? You wave him in. I've got like $4,000 on a credit card, and I genuinely don't know where it went. Concert tickets, some app subscriptions I forgot to cancel. A trip. It just adds up, and I didn't feel it adding up. You remember 24. You remember exactly what it felt like when the number was smaller than his, and still somehow heavier than anything you'd ever carried. So instead of advice, you tell him something that happened. The summer you were 23, your aunt got laid off after 31 years at the same furniture plant. 2 weeks' notice. $11,000 saved. That was the whole cushion. You watched her hands shake reading the severance letter at her kitchen table. You didn't decide anything dramatic that day. You just remember thinking quietly, I don't want to find out what that feels like when I'm 54. That's the whole story you give Tyler. You don't hand him a formula. You just let the story sit there in the room for a second. He nods slowly. Yeah, he says. Yeah, okay. He goes back to his desk. Maybe it changes something for him today. Maybe it doesn't land for another 6 years, until he's the one telling the same story with different names in it. He never learns what your account actually says. Some things you don't hand a person. You let them see the shape of it, and they build their own. It took you years to understand why that works better than advice ever did. Advice fades by lunchtime. A story somebody actually lived in stays for years. 3:15. The network goes down. Not a small outage. The whole building. And today is the second day of state standardized testing. 400 kids sitting in front of Chromebooks that just went black mid-question. The front office calls. Then the principal. Then a teacher you've never met is standing in your doorway panicking about lost test data, and a superintendent who's going to want answers by the end of the day. 14 years ago, this exact scenario would have put you in the bathroom for 5 minutes just to breathe. You don't feel that today. A contractor cut a fiber line on the east side of the building running new plumbing. No warning, no heads up. Not your fault. Not fixable in the next 10 minutes either. You call the state testing office yourself and ask about protocol for a hardware failure mid-test. You've made this call before. You know the language. By 4 o'clock, you've got a plan. Paper makeup testing tomorrow morning. pending approval you already know is coming, because you've built that kind of relationship with the people who approve things. The teacher who was panicking stops by on her way out. "I don't know how you stayed so calm in there," she says. You tell her something true, but not the whole truth. You tell her you've just seen worse. What you don't say is that the calm isn't really about the network at all. It's the same calm that let you tell your cousin it's not alone without blinking. The same calm that let you say no to a director title without one sleepless night over it. Money didn't teach you how to fix a severed fiber line. But it taught you, a long time ago, that almost nothing that goes wrong in a given afternoon is actually a threat to your life. It took you years to realize calm isn't a personality trait. It's just what's left over once enough problems stop being emergencies. 12:15. You eat at your desk, same as always. Today it's a paper plate of leftover taco dip, tortilla chips going soft at the edges. Somebody's kid turned 6 this weekend. The whole cul-de-sac got invited, and whatever wasn't finished came home in a foil pan because nobody wanted to throw it out. Down the hall, 2 coworkers are comparing delivery apps. $19 for a burrito bowl, $22 for a poke bowl with extra avocado. They're laughing about it, but there's an edge under the laugh. The kind that shows up when people joke about money because it's easier than saying it out loud straight. One of them glances at your paper plate. "You're always so good about that," she says. "Bringing lunch. I wish I had the discipline." You smile and say something small. "Thank you," or something like it. But it doesn't sit right, the word discipline. Like every bite is a sacrifice you're bravely enduring. Somewhere around your first $400,000, something in you just quietly stopped wanting the $19 burrito bowl more than you wanted the number to keep climbing. It wasn't a decision. It was more like a taste that changed on its own. The way you stop liking a song you used to play on repeat. You let her think it's discipline. It's easier that way. Scrolling your phone while you eat, you catch a post from Brandon. A photo of the truck, freshly washed, parked at an angle that catches the light just right. "Dream truck," the caption says, 3 fire emojis under it. 41 likes already. You don't comment. You just keep scrolling. There's something underneath the easier part. Something you don't say out loud to anyone, not even your husband most days. The real reason you don't talk about the number, it's not privacy exactly. It's that the second people know, they stop seeing you. They start seeing the number instead. Every ask, every favor, every offhand comment gets weighed against what you have instead of what they actually mean. You watched it happen to your uncle once, the summer he sold a piece of land nobody knew he owned. Cousins who hadn't called in years found reasons to call. He got quieter that year, not sadder, just quieter, like he was conserving something. You decided a long time ago you didn't want that particular kind of quiet. So you finish the taco dip. You let her call it discipline. You go back to your desk without correcting a single thing. 2:40 in the afternoon. Your phone lights up on the desk. Your cousin's name. You know before you answer this isn't a hello, just checking in kind of call. Nobody calls at 2:40 on a Tuesday to check in. "Hey," she says, tightness in it right away, the sound of somebody who's been rehearsing the sentence in the car for 10 minutes. "So, this is embarrassing. My son's car died this morning. Timing belt, the shop says $900 and I don't get paid till next Friday, and I hate to even ask." "I'll send it," you say. Before she finishes, "I'll pay you back, I promise, I just need." "It's not a loan," you tell her. "Cars break, that's not a character flaw." She goes quiet for a second. You know that quiet. You've made that same sound yourself a long time ago, back when $900 would have meant a very different Tuesday. You open the banking app. You transfer $900 from an account she doesn't know exists into an account she thinks is the only one you have. 11 seconds, and it's done. Here's the part nobody puts in a headline. $900 is less than half of 1% of what you're sitting on. It barely moves a decimal anywhere. But for her, if that timing belt had gone on a credit card instead at 26% interest, paid down slow the way most people pay things down slow, it wouldn't have stayed $900. It would have turned into something closer to $1,400 by the time she finished, stretched over a year and a half of minimum payments and quiet stress she'd carry into every other decision that year. You didn't save her $1,400 today. You deleted a problem before it had the chance to become one. That's a different kind of math. Nobody teaches you that kind in school. She calls back an hour later, just to say thank you again. You tell her to stop thanking you. She laughs a little, and you can hear the tightness is gone from her voice now. That's the part that actually lands somewhere in your chest. Not the number. The sound of her voice going back to normal. The best return you'll ever get isn't a percentage. It's a phone call where somebody's voice goes from tight to normal in the space of one sentence. You don't mention it to your husband until dinner. You don't mention it to anyone else at all. 4:30. Slow part of the day. You're supposed to be updating firmware on a stack of routers, and instead you're looking at a bike. An e-bike. The kind with the torque sensor and the carbon frame, the kind cyclists on the trail by the river always seem to be riding while you're still huffing up the hill on the old aluminum one you've had since college. $2,900. You could buy it the way other people buy a coffee. It wouldn't touch anything. It wouldn't move a single decimal in any account you own. You put it in the cart anyway, just to see it sitting there. Then you run the thing you always run. The same 3 questions. Quiet. No drama to it. 1. Will you still want this in 30 days, or is this just today talking? 2. Are you buying the bike, or are you buying the feeling of showing up on the trail looking like you belong there? 3. If nobody on that trail ever saw you on it, would you still want it exactly this much? You sit with the third one the longest. That's usually the one that tells you the truth. And the truth today is, you're not sure. There's a version of this bike that's about knees that don't love the incline anymore. And there's a version that's about the 2 guys in full kit who passed you on the trail last weekend without a nod. The kind of nod that says you're one of us. You close the tab. Not because you can't afford it. You close it because you're not sure yet, and not sure yet has never once cost you money in 20 years of using it as your only rule. 3 weeks later, you think about it again, standing in line somewhere, waiting on nothing in particular. You go to picture the bike, and you can't quite land on it. Torque sensor, carbon frame, somewhere in the 2,900 range. The details have already gone soft at the edges, the same way the taco dip chips did. You never even remember the brand. That's usually how you know. The wanting was real for exactly one Tuesday afternoon, and then it wasn't anything at all. The coffee maker passed the same test 9 years ago, and you've used it every single morning since without 1 second of regret. Filters are supposed to let some things through. This one just didn't get the chance today. 7 o'clock. Dishes done. You lace up and walk out with your husband, same loop you've walked most nights for 11 years. 2 miles, down past the elementary school, around by the creek, back up Fuller Street. He asks how your day was. You tell him about the taco dip. You tell him about Tyler. You don't mention the $900 yet. You will tonight, probably right before bed, the way you tell each other everything eventually, just not always right away. Past the elementary school he brings something up. Careful, the way he brings up things he's been sitting on for a few days. I was thinking about Danny's soccer thing again, the travel team. Your nephew, 11 years old, good enough that a travel league coach actually called the house last week. $2,200 for the season, he says, plus gear, plus gas money for you-know-who to drive him to half the games, since your sister's working weekends now. You run it quiet in your head before you run it out loud. We're not obligated to, you say finally, but I don't hate the idea. Me neither. I just don't want it to become a thing where every kid in the family expects it every year for everything. That's the real conversation underneath the soccer conversation, not whether you can afford $2,200. You both already know you can 6 times over, without thinking about it. The real question is what kind of family you want to build around money nobody in it actually knows you have. We do it quietly, you say. Same as always. Tell your sister the league offered him a scholarship spot. She won't question it. He nods. Not a loophole. Just a small kindness wearing a coat so it doesn't have to explain itself. You ever think about just telling people? He asks. Not for the first time. Sometimes, you say. Then I think about your cousin's land money summer, and I stop thinking about it. He laughs quiet, because he remembers that summer too. The calls that started coming. The way people's voices changed on the phone, warmer and stranger at the same time. Fair, he says. You've had exactly 4 real fights about money in 22 years of marriage. What you remember more is how they ended the same way every time. The Sunday meeting, 15 minutes, coffee, the laptop open between you, no ambushes, just numbers looked at together on a schedule instead of a crisis. Halfway through the loop, past the creek, you think about your aunt again. You haven't thought about her twice in one day in a long time. She's gone now, 11 years. But you still think about that kitchen table sometimes. Her hands, the severance letter, a number that was supposed to carry 31 years of work and somehow only carried about 4 months of rent. She wasn't careless. She raised you half your childhood summers on a factory paycheck and made it look easy. She just never had the room to build a cushion, because there was never a month where building one didn't mean somebody went without something they needed instead. You had room. That's the whole difference if you're honest about it. Not smarter. Not more disciplined than her. Just born into a version of the world with a little more slack in it, and you didn't waste the slack. At 23, watching her hands shake, you didn't make some big dramatic vow. You just felt something settle into place, quiet. The way decisions that actually stick usually arrive quiet instead of loud. I don't want to find out what that feels like at 54. You're 42 now. Not all the way there yet, but you're not afraid of the mail anymore, and you didn't notice exactly when that stopped, which is maybe the only way it was ever going to happen. You finish the loop as the streetlights come on. Brandon's truck is back in his driveway, headlights off, engine ticking as it cools. You feel something quieter than superior walking past it. Closer to relief that isn't really about the truck at all. Back inside, you check the Casio on your wrist out of habit, even though the time doesn't actually matter right now. Nobody's waiting on you. Nothing's due. $19, 20 years ago. Still ticking. Never asked for a battery upgrade. Never asked to be replaced by something that does more. Being invisible with money was never about hiding. It was about protecting the version of you people actually like, from the version of you a number would turn you into. Somewhere tonight across town, a 23-year-old is opening a bank app for the first time in a while, staring at a number that doesn't look like much. $200. Maybe less. They don't know yet what a Tuesday looks like 20 years from now, if they just keep showing up. They will.